Today on Pots and Trowels, I'm going to be looking at some plants you can use for autumn and winter containers, and that's brought to you with the support of Allett and Cobra Garden. Hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels. Well, we're well into October now. Feels very autumnal. We've had some rains that we needed, and now though we're getting a bit of milder weather, which is really nice to make us feel autumnal. But it means that we can start thinking about pots that are going to give us colour and interest through the rest of the autumn and into winter. Summer pots have finished now, so we need to get rid of those. So I've got here just a few plants that work really well in containers. Of course, if they're going to be autumn and winter plants, they've got to be hardy, and ideally you want something that's evergreen or something that's going to flower into winter. So I've got just one or two things here, a couple of flowering things. This one is one of my favourites. This is a Hesperantha. Used to be called Shiza stylus. It's had a name change. You can get red ones, salmon coloured ones, but this is a very delicate pale pink one here, Pink Princess. And the great thing about these Hesperantha is they're only just starting to flower. Literally end of September these started to flower, and we can see there are lots more flower spikes to come on this. So if we get a mild autumn, we've had these in flower in our garden as late as mid-December, so it's a really good doer for autumn. So that's a good one to put in a container just to give it a little bit of height at the back there and some flower. Another flowering one that I really like is this one, and this one is one I bought ready for planting when we get the new garden. This is an enemy, and this is a semi-double one here, but it's not one of the really tall ones. This is a compact one that only grows to about 18 inches tall in the garden, and it just flowers and flowers and flowers. It's one called Belle, part of the Fantasy series, and I just think these are lovely. And again, loads more buds, so if I keep deadheading this, I can extend the flowering period. So nice bit of pink there in there, something to contrast with that you would probably put at the front of the container. We've got a heuchera, lovely. It's called Wild Rose. It's got these dark leaves here. Obviously we're not going to get flowers at this time of the year, but we can take advantage of that. So, you know, with that makes a nice little arrangement. And again, keeping on that pinky purple theme, this one is a hebe, an evergreen hebe. Flowers in the summer, but in the winter, as it gets cooler, the tips go much darker. They go a purple colour there. So again, a nice contrast there. Something a little bit lighter at the front. You could probably put in something like this variegated ajuga that has pink flowers, and again a pink flush there on the tips of the new growth. And if you want another shrub, this is one that I really like. This one is Nandina domestica, another dwarf one, sometimes called the sacred bamboo. Some of them can get quite tall, but this one is a compact form. And again, as the weather cools down, all this growth will go red. So, you know, there's a little group of plants there I've got on the table. If you've got a nice big pot and you planted those in it just as a temporary container until next spring, you're going to have masses of colour and interest. So I'm going to pop these just out of the way, because what I want to do is actually plant up a container but do something just a little bit different. Instead of using these flowering plants and shrubs in there, I want to use some of the wonderful grasses that are available. These are looking fantastic at this time of the year, and they'll carry on looking good even when the flowers die and the foliage goes that bronzy colour through the winter. Some are deciduous and would die down and we'd cut them back in the spring, but others are evergreen. So what I'm going to do is plant them into this pot here. Now, the reason I'm using this pot, this green pot, is this is made from recycled materials, and the reason I want to plant grasses in this is because this pot here is, believe it or not, made from artificial turf. There's a big problem with recycling artificial turf, so there's acres and acres of it when it's being used on sports stadiums. So the company that make these use them, recycle the grass, and then they make these green pots. So I thought that'd be quite fun to actually plant this recycled grass pot up with some living grass, with actual natural grasses. So I've drilled some holes in the base. They need drainage, and then I'm going to add some compost to it like this. This is a multi-purpose compost in there. Not going to quite fill it because obviously we're going to plant into it. And then it's just arrange them as you want. So I've got a mixture. So I'm going to start with something quite tall at the back. Now these obviously wouldn't live in this pot forever. They'd be crammed. I could plant this one in this pot, and in a couple of years' time that would make a really thicket of growth and fill it. But I want this to be a seasonal container, and what I'm going to do in the spring is take them out and then either pot them back up again or plant them in the garden. But this one is a miscanthus, and this is one called Pink Cloud, and it's got these lovely flowers here, these inflorescence, and they've got a pink tinge to them, and these are only just opening now, so these are going to look good right the way through the autumn, and then they'll stay on the plant dry through the winter. So I'm just going to knock that out of the container and make a hole and plant this at the back. So I'm going to get some height in the back, so that's going to go in there and just filter the compost around it. And then I'm going to use this one here. This is a pennisetum. Now pennisetum are grass that come from Africa, not 100% hardy, so they need to be planted somewhere sheltered, but certainly if you're buying them as a seasonal grass, they're absolutely amazing. I just love these fluffy feathers on there. And it's got a nice dark green leaf, so we're going to take that one out of the pot. It doesn't want to come out. Just give it a tap on the bench. So I'm going to put this one in at the side of it there. So it's going to be quite a full pot. I want it to have some impact straight away, so that's going to go in there like that. And then I'm going to plant next to it this one. This is a Carex, which is a New Zealand grass. This is an evergreen grass. It's been blowing around in the wind a bit, but it will be absolutely fine. This lovely, almost like an olivey green leaf on this one. So I'm going to put this one in there, so you can see it already. It's sort of looking full and spilling out like that. So I've got the height there and I've got some structure at the side. So I'm just going to turn it to me to put the next one in, because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to put in this one. This is a Hakanakloa, sometimes called Japanese grass. This one is a deciduous one. It's one we would cut down in the spring. This is the golden variegated form. And what will happen in the winter, these leaves will go a rusty red colour, really attractive. And the great thing about them is you only need a tiny little bit of breeze and they blow around and give some movement. So we're going to put one of these in here, okay, in the centre. So that's just going to plug that gap in there like that. And then what I'm going to do is finish off with a couple of other things. Not a grass, but it's got grass strap-like leaves. This is a liriope. Now normally these have purple flowers, but this one has got white flowers on it on here. This was Monroe white, and I just like the leaf, but I love these flowers. So I'm going to put this in at the side to sort of spill over. So that one's going to go in there, and that will produce a few more flowers for us. And then just to finish off, if I can reach it round here, this one, again, not a grass, not a true grass. This one is Otheopogum, sometimes commonly known as the black grass. So just as a contrast to go against these golden and variegated leaves, I'm going to put this one just down there. So it's really simple to plant up. What I would do with it once I've finished it is just give it a drink, settle them all in like that, just make sure they're all arranged as such. Then if I just turn that back round to you, you can see it. Now, as I said, it's planted quite densely, but it's going to be perfectly okay through the autumn and the winter, and then next spring I can take these out, plant them in the garden, cut them down if they need it, divide them and use them in the garden. But I just think it's a bit of fun to have real grasses growing in a pot made from recycled artificial grass. Well, thank you for watching Pots and Trowels, and keep telling all your friends about us. Next week, we're going to be live in the conservatory, answering your questions and dealing with tender plants that need a bit of winter protection. So we'll see you then. Bye.